What's up, everyone? My name is Kendall Key, and I am the creator of the Recovery Meth podcast. This podcast was created to share my journey of recovery, faith, and life with all of y'all that will listen in hopes to inspire and entice some self-reflection. And I hope to do that. So let's dive right in and talk about something that I have been feeling a lot of. And that is emotions. Emotions, man, they are so powerful. They truly are. You know, they have the ability to build us up. They have the ability to alter our moods. They have the ability to tear us apart and make us feel less than nothing. You know, in so many aspects, emotions and feelings, all of those are elements of life that are just a part of us. And this season of my life has seriously uncovered a lot of emotions and, you know, just how they affect me, my thinking, and just me as a person. It has really unraveled and revealed a lot because they've affected me just to the point to where I was getting bombarded by hurt, pain, loneliness. But at the same time, you know, I would get struck by serenity, acceptance, calmness. And this past week has just been a wave of emotions. And there have been plenty of times when I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to analyze them, figure out where they're coming from. And it was literally driving me insane. I remember being at work yesterday and the tears just started flowing. You know, I called out to a coworker of mine and he turns around and says, "What's up?" I had nothing to say. I just put my hands up and said, I don't know. But my tears were flowing. It felt like somebody had punched me in the stomach and was turning their fist. So, you know, emotions can be scary, but they're a part of life. They're a part of the human experience, to say the least. So growing up from drinking from the age of 12 all the way up to 3 years ago, I drowned out a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings with alcohol and meth and, you know, just sex, whatever it may have been that I did to numb all that pain. To actually be experiencing it sober, man, I can definitely understand why some people are afraid of them. Some people don't know how to handle them. Truth be told, I don't. There have been plenty of times when I've asked people around me, I don't know if this is normal. I don't know if I'm normal. Is this how I should be feeling right now? And it is enough to drive anyone insane. And especially me being in recovery, especially somebody in recovery, you know, I hate to say it, but I can definitely understand why so many relapse due to emotions and just the feelings that come along with life, because they're confusing. They're confusing is the best way that I can describe it. But how I'm getting through it is basically what I want to talk about. I feel like me growing up, and I think this is kind of universal, I feel like we have come to a place where feelings and emotions are frowned upon to be spoken about. You know, you don't talk about how you're feeling. I mean, you know, when somebody asks, how you doing? Of course you say, okay. When deep down, you know that's probably not exactly what is going on. But it's not normalized to voice how you're actually feeling with others. It's not normalized to talk about the hurt, the pain, the joy, whatever it may be, you know, mostly the negative emotions. It is acceptable to talk about the reasons why you're feeling happy today, the reason why you're on top of the world today. Yes, everyone wants to hear that, but nobody wants to voice the reasons why they're hurting inside. Nobody wants to try to understand that or try to process it. For me, I stepped out of my comfort zone. This past season of my life, I started talking. I was talking about everything that I had been going through with my coworkers, they have been such a huge support because they took the time to listen, but most of all, they made me feel safe. They made me feel safe and accepted to be able to talk about why I was feeling that way, why I was crying in my office, why I was going through what I was going through, even when I couldn't voice it and the tears were flowing. They made me feel safe. They allowed me to be able to express that. And I want to say that has allowed me to be able to process and get through them. I don't like the silence the past couple of weeks because I have experienced a lot of self-inflicted memories and replaying this situation. I coulda, woulda, shoulda, etc. And that is just a place I do not want to be in. But being able to voice it to others, just to be heard, there was some satisfaction there. It was like letting a load off, letting that burden, releasing it. A lot of the times that's all we need is just to be able to be heard, to have somebody say, you know what, it's okay that you're not okay. You know what, I've gone through something like that, or whatever it may be, just even some encouragement to help get you through each moment, because each moment was different for me. I'll tell you that much. Like sometimes I'd be fine, and again, there's that acceptance and everything would be gravy, but then it just hits. And when it hits, it hit hard. And that's when the tears start flowing, the confusion starts happening. It's just been an interesting season of my life. But being able to talk to others and feeling safe, like, what? I feel safe sharing this part of myself with each one of you. So thank you. And I also want to encourage you to find somebody that you are able to express yourself to and to share those emotions, your feelings, whatever it is. It's for your mental health. I hope and I pray that you'll find somebody that you can express that to, because there's so much to benefit from that. Whether that be like a church group, a 12-step meeting support group, or whoever, your best friend, your family, your mom, whoever, I suggest that you find somebody to be able to voice exactly what it is that you're going through, even the confusing times, even when the times you literally don't know why you feel, or you don't even know how you feel. But being able to voice that to somebody is just probably what has allowed me to keep my sanity this long, even though I felt like I was losing it, even though I felt like I was losing my mind, essentially. That and a lot of time with God. I would go on hikes to clear my mind, and when I would get on top of the mountain or the summit that I'm climbing, I find that calmness there. I find that peace there. And I'm like, this is what I want to hold on to. And I start my prayer and these tears just start flowing, and I'm like, okay, you know what? This is revealing some things to me about why I'm feeling this way. Emotions, they really are scary. They're a part of the human experience. But, whatever emotions you have, especially the negative ones, I believe like the more we focus on the negative emotions, we lose sight of the healing that can happen, and the healing that can take place, the healing that needs to take place. That's what happens when we focus on the negative feelings, the negative emotions, just negativity in life. We lose sight of the healing that needs to happen, and it will happen. And I know that it has taken place within myself because I've been able to process and express myself the way that I need to, even when sometimes I don't even know what the heck I'm feeling. Just being able to have that support has been really, really detrimental in me keeping my sanity, and overall me keeping my sobriety and my clean time, because it's like, I can definitely understand why people would run to alcohol, run to drugs, because it's too much at times. It's really scary, to be honest, because this is probably the first time in my entire life where I'm trying to process this magnitude of emotion sober, clean, without the mind-altering substance. It is a trip. A lot of the times we don't normalize voicing that. So again, I just want to encourage you, no matter what it is that you're going through, if you're going through, a season of your life, a season of change, being able to voice that to somebody could be detrimental for your health, for your sanity. So I pray that you have somebody in your life, or you find somebody in your life that you can express that to. But most of all, stay prayed up, because it really does help just to have that spiritual strength. Because, without my relationship with God, I really don't know where I would be right now. Here's kind of like what I've uncovered just talking with a good friend and a pastor of mine. We had a long conversation yesterday where I just showed up. I just showed up to his place, and literally I just walked in and I started bawling, and he asked me what was going on, and I said, I don't know. As we spoke, things just came out, and it's like one of the things that I was, feeling was a sense of closure. That's what we kind of pieced everything to, was, closure and what that looks like. How do we get closure from incomplete relationships? Now, remember, incomplete relationships are relationships from our past, whether it be, romantic, whether it be friendships, siblings, your parents, influences in your life, those relationships that are no longer there, but you still carry a deep emotion tied to that relationship. Those are what incomplete relationships are. And being able to find closure to that could really be what's holding you back. Most times, just like myself, I've buried that so deep within myself that I didn't even notice it, but it was starting to come out. For those of you that have been following me, I just kind of got out of a relationship, and that's kind of like the tip of the iceberg would be the best way to describe it. But we were talking about that, and I was like, I think I just want some closure. And I told him about that night when we last spoke. He told me, like, you know what, Kendall, that sounds like a beautiful closure right there. He said, think about it. And I was like, you know what, it was like, I expressed myself, even though I want to say I didn't say the right things. What are the right things to say in that moment? But I expressed myself. We came to a mutual agreement. And on top of that, I reminded this individual of how beautiful they are and how much, I actually do care for them and their healing, because, I truly do feel like that's exactly what they need. I was, mature enough to be able to express that. And, we kind of got on that same page, and just to remind this individual, like, what, you are beautiful. This is your worth. Encourage, uplift. And after that, what more could have possibly been said? One thing we were talking about was, your mind has a way of playing tricks on you, because personally, I've never had closure from my past incomplete relationships. So my mind is going to try to tell me that, that wasn't closure, no. In actuality, once I accepted that, it's like, yes. And I'm reflecting on it. It's like, that was closure for me. And it's like, wow, all right. But then what surfaced was my 3 other incomplete relationships that have not had closure yet. And for those of you that have not heard my story, or, I'm just going to do a quick rundown, but at the age of 12, my mother passed away. My mother passed away from cancer. I remember that she had been making progress. I was 12 years old, and she was at a hospital, which was practically 40 miles away from my hometown, and I had a basketball game the following day. And I remember asking her, like, can I take the car so that way I can drive to school, and after that I'll come back here and see you? Come on now, what does a 12-year-old have? What kind of business does a 12-year-old have trying to drive a car at that age? And that's what I did. And of course she said no. So what do? I say, you know what? I left my basketball gear in the car. Can I get the keys? I drove the car home that evening. And later on that day, the following day, we get a call from a relative and said, you know what, your mother is incoherent and they don't believe she's gonna make it much longer. I remember the drive back to the hospital, I had this thought, this shame, this guilt that just told me, like, you know what, this is all your fault. Like, you did this to your mom. She was making progress, and here you are just being a selfish prick that you are. You know what? It's because she was worried about you, because she was thinking about you all night, that she is in this condition right now. I get to the hospital, and just walking down that hallway to her hospital room was quite possibly the longest walk that I can recall. I couldn't bear seeing her. We had family there, and she was just making this awful groaning sound. She couldn't keep her head like upright, and she just looked so terrible, and I couldn't be there. And I went to my auntie's room. I slept, and I just had this embrace from my mom that just hugged me to my core, to my soul, and I can guarantee that it lifted my spirit out of that bed and let me go. 2 minutes later is when my brother came in and told me that she had passed away. That's something that I carried in the back of my head for so long. It's just like, what? It was all my fault. It was because of what I chose to do and me making that choice to go and drive the car home. In so many ways, I was angry, I was hurt, I was abandoned, I had a little bit of hate towards her for leaving me, for leaving a 12-year-old kid in the world and not having any parental guidance. My brother told me everything that I needed to hear. He told me, I'm never gonna leave you, I'm never gonna do this, it's just me and you, we're gonna make it together. And that didn't happen. Again, that sense of abandonment, that's when my alcoholism kicked in. So I didn't know anything of the hurt, the pain, because anytime I felt that, I started drinking. I started drinking during that time, and I just became suicidal, and there was just a lot going on. That is something that I still need to find closure from. I know season 1 we kicked off with, forgiving my mom for everything. That's one thing, but now I need to find a way to find closure from that incomplete relationship. Now, my second one is my homie Kina. This was my best friend. My best friend came into my life at a time when I just needed somebody. He came into my life at the right time, and it's like, we hit it off. Like, we loved to party. That's what we did. That's what we were known for. And it's like, we just grew, we got to know one another, and it's like, all walls were taken down, because I found like a homie that I can let in, that didn't give two F's about, who I was, what I was, or anything like that. He just saw something in me that, created this friendship. Part of our shenanigans that we would get into, is our drinking. That is something we always did. We were known for, just going out to Vegas to go party and, go hit up strip clubs, etc., etc. And it's just, that camaraderie, that friendship. And one evening, we decided to go to a lake just because it sounded like a great idea during that time. We had been heavily drinking that night, and we get to the lake and we're there, we're swimming around, and there's only like 6 of us there. It's early morning, still dark, and we're just there having a good time. Had some music going, and like I get out, I get dressed, and I start honking the horn, and I'm like, all right, y'all, let's go. The sun's about to break, it's getting cold, and let's get out of here. And everyone else is getting out, and I'm like, Kina, like, where are you? And I'm like, come on now, stop messing around. And I'm like, is he back there? And they said no. I just remember standing there, and coming into the view of the headlights hitting the water, I see a body. I run out there as quickly and as instantly as I can, and I just remember grabbing him and bringing him back to shore. And my homegirl Rachel, she did the best she could. She immediately started giving CPR. Just like in that moment, I felt so helpless. And it was just heartbreaking just to experience that and to see that, because he's an amazing man. A lot of the times I thought to myself, how the heck did I miss that? What could I have done better? Obviously, not going to the lake, making better choices, but it's like, what could I have done better in that moment to have prevented that? And that's something that has haunted me too. And this happened in a small town that split the town into two. Some of the people, were like, that's just who you guys were. You guys were known for your shenanigans, and you know what, this is just an accident. And we had others who pointed the finger at us saying, you know what, y'all maliciously did this. It was hurtful. I knew nothing about grieving and all of that. Like, all I knew is that it hurt. I was numb, and I continued my drinking because that's all I knew. I didn't know how to process it. And on top of that, looking back, like, I can definitely understand why, like, the family didn't want us at the service, but that's what happened. We were barred from the service. So in a way, I never got that closure from my best friend in that time. And that's another relationship. And being on the streets out here in Phoenix, my best friend Alex, we literally just, I guess the best way to describe it is running and gunning. That's all we were doing, was just running and gunning. Two homeless dudes on the streets of Phoenix, just going, that's all we were doing, was just going, surviving. It was amazing. Like, he is definitely an angel in my life because, he taught me so much. He taught me to be open-minded to others, and he taught me, like, intimacy, being able to be intimate with another individual. And I'm not talking like sexual or anything like that, but I'm talking about intimate, like an intimate connection with one another, just vibing, being okay with the silence, but then also knowing what the other person is thinking. Like, he's just such an amazing man. And, we were basically day in, day out for like 8 months and got into a lot of shenanigans. And it's like, this homie was a true ride or die for me. I've gotten into some situations where I had to hit him up like at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. and I'm like, yo, I'm in this situation. And out of the blue, he would show up and I'm like, all right, I feel safe. Looking back, that relationship was incomplete because one morning I went to go sell drugs to go get us some breakfast. Our living situation was living in a rundown storage shed with no door in an alleyway of a little apartment complex, like on 21st Street and or 21st Avenue in Northern area. I go out, do my thing, I'm coming back with food, and I run into an individual, and he's like, hey, they took Hopper in an ambulance. And I'm like, no, like, he's still there. Like, I went to get us food right now. I get back there and sure enough, he's not there. And his brother lets me know, like, you know what, they did take him in an ambulance. And I'm just like, all right, well, let's go to the hospital. We get to the hospital. They don't let us in because, 2 nights before he had gotten jumped. And, he let them know at the hospital because, maybe it was like a broken bone. Maybe it was something kind of associated with that. The hospital told us that we can't go in there because he reported that. And, it's for his safety. So we're like, all right, cool. So we go back and, just continue doing what we do, just doing drugs. And that's basically it. That's all, a drug addict like me does throughout the day, is just do drugs. Later on in the night, we get word from his dad that he passed away. It was a pneumonia that ultimately took him out. I'm just shocked, I'm just like confused and dumbfounded. They decided to cremate his body. It's just hard for me to believe that. It was hard for me to believe that at that time because it's like, no, I left him to go get food. I didn't see him in no ambulance. I didn't see him in no hospital bed. I didn't see a dead body. And, I didn't even make it to the service because I was so scared. I was so scared and I was so hurt. And what I decided to do was just run. I just kept walking. I kept walking and walking and walking, and I just got lit. That's all I did. That was all I felt I could do. I didn't want to be at the service. That is something that I need closure from as well. My question is, how do I find closure for these fallen loved ones in my life? And ultimately, this season of my life has actually kind of revealed that to me. Like, you know what? You're healing, Kendall. because I'm still healing, and there's a lot of things that I need healing from, a lot from my past, to be able to, cut those chains and be able to continue moving forward. And I truly do feel like, God has revealed these things to me, because God knows what I need. He knows what I need before I even do. He knows that, I need you to process this and get through this, and trust me, because it's gonna hurt, but you need to do this for yourself so I can get you over here. I need to get you where I need you to be, and I need you to have the strength to be able to do it. And that's what I'm trying to do, and it just sucks. It sucks because, the question has been posed: do you even want to let them go? In all honesty, I will say yes and no. And I'm trying to complicate it when the answer should just be yes. I need to let them go. I do need to let them go. I need to let them go so they can get their peace. And I can get my peace, because they're always going to be a part of my life. And I do need to let them go and get that closure from those incomplete relationships to make myself whole. In so many ways and in so many aspects, I will honestly say, like, I've held on to them for so long because they are what has gotten me through so many situations. Just holding on to that pain, that hurt, I don't know, for some twisted reason, I truly do feel like they've allowed me to survive. But then I remind myself, like, I'm not surviving anymore. It's time to start living. And I have been living. God and Jesus have been walking me into a new life without substances, a new life in recovery, and a new life with them. And that is ultimately what I'm holding on to. I'm holding on to the promises of God that He will make me whole, that if I keep trusting in Him, He is going to make a way. And I know that He has already made a way for me. I just need to be strong and be able to process this correctly, not go backwards and start using again, because that's the life that I know I definitely don't want to be caught up in anymore. Where I'm at in my recovery and with my relationship with God, ain't nothing and ain't nobody gonna tell me otherwise, because I'm gonna keep making the moves that I need to keep moving, because I am a child of God and I am one strong individual. I have already accomplished so much, and it's only because I put my trust and my faith in God that, He is walking me through this. I need to remind myself of that. I need to remind myself of that day in and day out. And it's like, these emotions, they almost got me twisted. They did have me twisted for so long because I've been so caught up in them. But then emotions, when we're focusing on the negativity, we forget about the healing. I know I did. This morning, I woke up after coming to the conclusion with my pastor about, the things that I need to do and finding that closure. I woke up and I go inside my restroom and I'm looking in the mirror and I'm just looking into my eyes and I'm like, you know what? I love you, Kendall. I love you for everything that you have been through. And I love you that you are still standing strong. You are still here today. You're 3 years clean and sober. You just celebrated your 33rd birthday. No matter the obstacles that have been put in your life, all the hurt, all the pain, all the loneliness and the darkness, you still find a reason to smile, and you still do your best to encourage others and shine some light into somebody else's darkness. Because ultimately, I truly do feel like that is my purpose in life. Like, God has plans for me, and truly, like, what that looks like, I don't know. I don't know how God is moving in my life, because I'll never see all the little pieces that He is moving to get me to where He needs me to be. But all I can do is just keep trusting, keep standing strong. And you know what? The things that come up in my life, the best I can do is just hold on and trust the process. Whether it be my recovery, my spiritual walk, my emotional intelligence, my mentality, my physical health, just all of that. I just got to keep putting in that effort. I just got to keep putting in the effort that I need to be able to continue to grow, and that being open-minded and being willing to put in that work. So the question is, how do I find closure for those incomplete relationships? But I want you to reflect on your incomplete relationships. What incomplete relationships do you have in your life that you need to find closure from? You know, you may not realize it because you may have been like me and you buried them so far within yourself that you forgot about them. But trust me, there will be a time when they start to surface again. So think about that. You know, what are some ways that you can find some closure from that? Because ultimately, once we do that, healing continues to happen. And I guarantee once I put closure to these incomplete relationships, it's going to take me to a whole nother level. I'm just trusting, and I know that one day I will find the right way to get that closure. Until then, again, my name is Kendall Key, and I just want to say thank you for being a part of my journey, because y'all have no idea how much y'all influence me. And just to be able to share my experience, share my hope, share my strength and my weaknesses is therapeutic to me. And you know what? I love you all. Good night. Deuces.